Welcome everybody to our regular meeting scheduled for January 10, 2022. At this time, we will call our meeting to order. And we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First order of business, you've all been presented with the agenda. You've had a little opportunity to look it over. At this time, I will accept any motions to accept tonight's agenda.
Mayor,
Mr.
I'd like
Schlueter.
to make one change to the agenda. We have received an application for the EDA, and I'd like to add that to the regular agenda to consider that application.
So we have a motion to approve the agenda with also adding one agenda item, an EDA application that we will approve.
I'll second.
It's been seconded. So the first amendment was from Mr. Schlueter. It's been seconded by Councilmember Sullivan. Any discussion, comments, concerns?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How long have we had the advertising open about the open position?
Yes, I can address that if I may. We've had a posting for the EDA for about, I believe, 3 months now. And we have 3 vacancies currently, with 2 being ones that had terms that went until the end of 2021 and then one that left previous to the end of the year. So 3 months for the EDA, I believe, and then there are 2. If this is filled tonight, we still would have 2 vacancies.
Very good clarification. Thank you.
Very good. With that, we've had the motion made. It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. That'll become item number 6D then, or would that be
E.
6E? Thank you. Thank
Mr.
you
Mayor,
very much.
I would move that the agenda as modified be approved.
I'll second.
The agenda is modified, be approved. A motion was made by Councilmember Krogman. It's been seconded by Councilmember Sullivan. Any discussion, comments, concerns? Otherwise, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered in a routine and have been made available to the City Council at least 2 days in advance of the meeting. These items will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the agenda and considered in normal sequence. At this time, I would like to ask our city administrator to review those with us.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Kirby, members of City Council. We have the meeting minutes from January 3rd, our last meeting, which was our organizational meeting. There was a clarification in there, so I do have new minutes that are available to council members and the public. We have disbursement approvals through today, January 10th, 2022. Those total just under $670,000. Items of note, there's just one, and that's the MMPA purchase power, totaling just over $537,000. We have the item C, adopt the updated 2022 governmental fee and 2022 water and wastewater rate schedules. This is related to seasonal customers, and it was just something that wasn't included when we originally adopted this back in December. Item D, airport pavement maintenance project professional services. This is for the airport pavement management or maintenance project, securing Bolton and Mink to do the professional services, the plans and specs development for that. Again, all of these, the next one too, items are generally 90% funded at least through FAA entitlement dollars. Item E is the North Taxi Lane construction professional services. So again, this is for an airport North Taxi Lanes construction, a project that we like to see happen in 2022. Item F, annual update of schedules 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the distributed energy resources and net metering policy. This is something we reaffirm each year and make minor changes to. this year is the same, and we are reaffirming this policy related to some of the distributed energy resources, net metering, things related to solar, wind, that type of thing in our community. G is a donation acceptance and agreement for the Rotary Santa House. I have included some photos that the agreement references in your materials here today, kind of documenting the condition and just different paint schemes and things like that of the Rotary Santa House. What that does is essentially transfers that from Rotary to the city's responsibility, and the agreement outlines the terms for that. Item H is the South Main Street reconnection pay request 7. So that is the 7th pay request for reconnecting Main Street, the Main Street project. And then we have the CEP purchased approval memo. So that's just going through items that we had in our CEP for the budget year 2022, and going through some of these items that we need to put purchase orders in to actually secure them within a timely fashion, because there's such a lead time on some of these items. And that's the end of the consent agenda. I will entertain any questions if the council has any.
Anybody with any questions for our city administrator? Anybody?
No, I have one quick comment.
Thank you.
Not too much out of order, I don't think. Items D and E were both recommended to you by the Airport Commission.
Thank you for that comment. If there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Sullivan,
Second.
and seconded by Councilmember Schleter. Any comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to public comment. Public comment provides the opportunity for the public to address the council on items that are not on the agenda. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes per person. Persons wishing to make a comment must sign up in advance of the meeting on the sheet provided and identify themselves by providing their name and address. At this time, do we have anybody for public comment? I know we have Mr. Edberg here tonight.
Yep, that is it.
Lauren. So at this time, I invite you on up and give your presentation if you would. Mr. Lauren Edberg.
Do I get 10 because I got my wife?
If she'd like to speak 5, that's fine, and you get 5.
All right. Thank you, guys. Biggest reason I'm here tonight is to, I guess, boast about some successes we've had in this community in the last month or so. I think you visibly saw what our residents are looking for, and I cannot explain that any better than that. What they are needing right now is this togetherness, this thing that we can call a work in progress, that we can make something out of this town that they can stand behind. And what it was called was Christmas in the Valley at this point. It started 4 years ago, and I did hand out the sheets for you, and I'm going to jump around a little bit, but if you could just flip the page, we got starting out with the good. Approximately 1,200 people came out that night. I don't know if we've seen a crowd like that in Sueur in a very long time, not considering Giant Days or anything like this. This is a community project here. And so vendors were the local shop owners right on Main Street. We asked them to bring enough for 300 people, thinking of what we had for the previous years. And they said they should have had 1,000 because they were well out real early. You know, we had music down the streets down there all day long, and it really, I think, built the excitement. Lights were wonderful, and your electric group is the ones that need to be thanked. I mean, our electrical company has done an extremely good job on being on time and helping out. This is a night of praise. This is not a night of argument or anything like this. The city has done well with some of these areas, and my job tonight is to praise those, because that's what we need. We need the city working with the business people, working with the residents, working with the school district, and that's what we did on this night. All these groups worked together, and we created something a little bit different. And We actually named the tree now with the Christmas in the Valley group that we have together. It's called the Gathering Tree now, which I think is going to be a big thing. 4 years ago when we started this thing, this is where it all started. Rotary had this idea that we were going to throw a tree together, call our Christmas tree type line, and we started talking with the city, and then we joined forces on that so we could make it bigger and better. And we did, and we made something that was really special. We put 84,000 lights on a tree, and that's pretty fantastic. And again, your electrical department, your Jasper was involved. We had all these different groups involved in the city that was helping out with that entire tree to form it, and we had local residents that were helping to design it too as we kind of went. But the best thing that happened, and God forbid it was not the best thing that happened, but we had a very young death at that same year. And his name was Ethan Gilbert. And he passed away suddenly. And what had happened is they held a prayer meeting about middle of December. And an email went out to a lot of people. And I did happen to catch it on the email. And it said, we're meeting at the tree, at our tree for a prayer meeting. And I bet there was a couple hundred people that showed up. Nothing else was said besides our tree. Boy, I'll tell you what, that kind of put it in a perceptive to me that says, this place is looking for something like this. And how many cars stop along that road and watch that tree when it's lit and just sit there for about 5 minutes to reflect on something? That's exactly what we're looking for in this city. I asked my committee the other night, and we just met this week. I said, who do you think that we're really going after this Christmas in the Valley for? Is it outside people coming in, or is it our people here in Sueur? 100% of them said it's all Sueur people. That's who we're trying to cater to, is bringing this to something that they can be proud of, and just something that they can work at it. And I just, that's exactly what it is. And so what we need right now is residents, the atmosphere is there. They want to partake it. We need business owners, school district, corporations, and the city of Sueur, and the chamber. And the chamber is going to be having a new director, but that's going to be part-time. They are going to be voting one in here real shortly. So that it's not dying. It's still going to be a very good piece in our community. That same night, we had Mayor Kirby, we had Superintendent Wagner, Rotary President Kulzer. They were all up and speaking about what's happening with their people and how they helped out the night that they were doing it. And of course, the Santa House became a very popular place too. The bad. Now, that night we learned on a few things. Lights on the tree, half of them went off before Christmas, and nobody really caught it. So we need to have more eyes on it, more city personnel possibly taking a look and seeing what's going on. And so that shouldn't happen, and that's what we need to work on, and we're going to do that. Snow removal to the Santa House was not discussed. So realistically, we had to grab a couple people to move some snow when we got that 16 inches of dumped snow, and we really weren't ready for that either. So there's a couple things in there that needs to be done. Lights on the city blocks, they all shut off together. And I'm not sure how many people really realize that, but the entire block shuts off at one time. So when you turn one light, they all shut off. And that's exactly what we want to do at some times, but not at all times. And during that night, it's good to have all the lights shut off. So when you're doing the parade, you can see all the lights on the parade vehicles, and it really shows off. But another bad thing it does, it makes a very bad intersection as you're coming up the hill on 93 and 8. And you're crossing with the main street there, it's pretty dark. And we learned that this time. We learned that we need to have better lighting in that intersection for something, just for protection and different pieces on it. Garbage cans, the waste management was called. They didn't deliver them. And I'm not sure what happened there, but it got failed. But now I did learn some more stuff about that, is I need to go through the city. And that's great because you guys have a little more power than I have. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing. So these are types of things that we learn as we kind of fly. And then of course we just have one, the ugly. We need more city personnel to block off streets. We decided to use heavy equipment this time. So myself and Scott Schrader had this discussion about, 2 or 3 days prior. It just so happened that remember that thing that happened in Chicago where that guy busted through that parade with his vehicle and ran down a few people? Well, we took that to heart. And so I got a call from Scott and he goes, what do you think about putting heavy equipment in instead of roadblocks there? And I said, yeah, I think that's a good idea. Well, one thing that we didn't plan on is the length of time that was going to take to make that happen. And so we didn't really shut down Main Street as early as we would have liked to, because they were still trying to shut down these other side streets with 2 people. And so that's where a city is going to have to come in a little bit more again and help out, where maybe we have more personnel helping things like that out. But our biggest thing that, what we want to continue on is, if you can flip to the front page where it says, and I'm sorry, I am over budget on my time. So do I go on or do you want me to stop, Mayor?
Just sum it up.
I'll try to sum it up as fast as I can here. And so the thing is we want to continue on with this, but we need to, my committee believes that this needs to be a budget line item in the city of Sueur, and so that we can grow with this entire piece. This is a deal that we're going to be dealing with. This is not a Giant Days. A Giant Days is for entertainment and for different things, for excitement and things. This is a whole different ballgame. What this is we are actually asking people, from the business owners to school districts to the residents to the city, to all come together and work on a project that we can all be very proud of. And that's a lot different than anything else that we're doing in town right now. And so with that, what we would be starting with is like a $7,500 budget that will help pay for some of the vendors, to pay for some of the food, that we can maybe have double the food out there, because this night is a free night. It's a night to just come together. And that's what it's all about. It's not meant for sale or anything on that. The other thing is we do need to buy a new Santa chair. The school donated us the chair, but it's not good. It almost broke. And so we need something new. We need something different. Stationery. I don't know if you guys realize this, but we had a mailbox out there for the kids to get Santa letters back. And by golly, they got them back. Santa wrote them. Well, that takes postage, that takes stationery, that takes money. And we all donated it this year. And that's what kind of happens with that. And that's great, but we just need more backing on that. But this isn't the time to go to door on these things. It's time that we have a committee and we have a thing that we can make together. Our next thing that we'd like to throw together is added pieces. And I'm sorry, but I got a picture here. This is for downtown. And what I'm looking at is if we did an outline of lights on top of the buildings. Other communities have done that. And this is going to be a drawing card for, do you want to put that on TV? I don't know. And this is going to, that will be a drawing card that makes our town quaint. It will take care of our issue with the lights, that when we shut off the big lights, that these are still going to be outlining on the thing. And how cool is it when you come into town and you see the buildings being outlined? I mean, that is a pretty cool area, as if you looked at other towns that have done it. The other things that we would like to work on, sound system. If we had a sound system, and I helped put the sound system in Henderson and how they ran theirs, now they're all electronic, where you don't have to have wire. Down in Henderson, we had wire. And so now they're wireless. And then you could do these 2 blocks. Amazing what you can do with that all year long is to add into it. These are just pet projects that we can build into as we kind of go with this entire project. My all-time goal is a walking trail to the God-made pond down on the corner of 93 and 169 down there. I've talked about this for 15 years. I want to see us put lights around that thing and have a walkway down there, and you can bike down there, you can walk down there, but there could be more added area for us to have Christmas in the Valley. That's all I wanted to mention. I do want to say, I cannot thank the city enough for the personnel that has helped out on this thing. The willingness. Scott Schrader has been just a trooper. He's fantastic, and he's very good at what he does. And I want to praise him for doing his thing. The other thing I want to do too is Jim Wagner, superintendent of our schools, when he first came to Rotary, he had a speech that he goes, what I was asked to do is, how am I going to bring people into our school district so we can have more kids? And he goes, my comment is how am I going to keep the 200 that are leaving? That's what we need to be thinking here, guys, in our city and the city council. What makes our people stay here? This is one that will make that happen. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Lauren. We, as a council and as a community, appreciate your passion. This event last month, I thought was beautiful. It was spectacular, and it was run very well. And we appreciate all the work you put into it. We appreciate the partnership with the city and with the fraternal organizations in town. And we'd like to see this continuous success, and we're here to help you in any way we can. So
Right.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? Thank you,
All
Lauren.
right, thank you.
And thank you, Peg, because he ran into your time. So thank you. Anybody else for public comment? No. Okay, very good. That takes us on to the regular agenda. We will start with County and State Highway Aid, CASA 36. Mr. Beanfang, how are you doing? It's been a while.
It has. Good
Yeah.
evening, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
City
Look forward to
Council.
hearing from you.
Yeah, absolutely.
The
It's
floor is
good to,
yours.
good to be back. I appreciate it. So it has been a little bit of time. I think the last time I was in front of you was on 36, and it's been just about a half a year ago now. And so just thought it was well timed to present an update for you. Come before you tonight to provide an update and then just give you kind of what we've been working on. It's been a number of things. So we've been hitting heavy on 36 here the last couple months, really once construction was near, and then that same team delivering to has been really grinding hard on 36. And so the goal tonight is purely just an update. There's no action required. And so just wanted to share some of our design, our status. And then going forward here, we have a pretty aggressive schedule to kind of finish out this month. We've got a neighborhood meeting here this Thursday that we've noticed for, mailed notices for. And it's really an update for the public, as well as we've got the assessment information. And so people are always eager to get that. We've been giving them updates and ranges, but we do have that benefit appraisal now. A lot more timely delivery than the CASA 22. So we're felt it was well timed to deliver and share that information for folks to start preparing for. And then we have the final plans. I'll be in front of you again next council meeting to really kind of formalize the final plans, and then trying to get out into the competitive bidding. And that's really what our driver is always on a project like this, is to get out in the market and really try to be in front and have it so that contractors are available and aren't full up, and so we get good competitive bids. And then we have our schedule laid out, and we are anticipating 1 year of construction this year. So I think it's going to fit. It's going to be a full year for sure, but then laying that out there, starting construction in the spring, it's going to take a full season, and then kind of highlighting that assessment adoption wouldn't happen until fall, late summer, fall. So just kind of planning for that. That's our second hearing. That is our assessment hearing. So folks, on the council at the time of 22 will recall that process. Getting those recorded by the end of the year, and then having those first payments due in 2023. So one of the things that we talked about last time we met was this idea of speeding on 36, and really some feedback from the public in regards to traveled speed. And so to, I guess, better understand that, we formalized and enacted a formal speed study. We did a 96-hour study. We did it a little bit different in technology this time. We used radar. Folks recall in some of our efforts on Elmwood, we had some failure tubes and things. So the technology supports a little better. It's a lot more reliable. And so we did 3 locations: Risedorf, Cantwell, and South 3rd. So those intersections are north to south on the corridor. And all the information is in your packet, but the results really did support some of the feedback we were getting from the public, where as you're entering town, people are not complying, not conforming to the 30-mile-an-hour zone. And we witnessed that at South 3rd, so that's the very south intersection, as well as Cantwell. That's kind of the first intersection where it corrects itself after that series of horizontal curves. Notice that folks were traveling greater than 10 miles per hour, and we tie a lot of value into the 85th percentile. That's, you know, what we measure for compliance to speed. That's what we rate, you know, speed, you know, posted speeds at. It's a percentile that we have a lot of attention to when we're looking at speeds. Notably, Reisdorf had conformance. They were traveling 30 miles an hour at Reisdorf. So taking this information and understanding, you know, all this discussion of speed studies that we've had here at council level, it's really acknowledgement that folks are traveling the speed they feel comfortable. So really the corridor is supporting, you know, in this instance, 40-mile-an-hour travel, at least through 3rd Street and up to Cantwell. Knowing that the importance of this and really the feedback isn't that we want to adjust speed. We don't want to increase speed on this corridor. We want to make conscious improvements and decisions to help, you know, help force and help drive that compliance. And so I'm going to talk about a few of those strategies tonight. There's actually a whole handful that we're planning to implement, but that was helpful to help kind of guide our design, support some of that feedback we were getting, and hopefully make a noticeable change through this project. So some of the other things we've been looking at and really direct feedback from that improvement hearing and that conversation last time I was in front of you was a lot of emphasis on sidewalks. And through our efforts here these past couple months, I definitely feel confident and am able to communicate to you tonight that sidewalks on both sides are feasible. I think they're constructible, and we are moving forward with design that incorporates that. One thing to note, anywhere there isn't sidewalk today, we are going to have to secure a temporary easement just to get that graded in, but overall it actually fits pretty well, and I think it's reasonable, the impact from that. So that's our intent. Just so that council is very clear, we are extending sewer and water all the way to the south reaches of the city limits there. So all the new all properties on 36 will get a new sewer and water service. That's planned as part of the project. Whether they're hooking up right now or whether they need to hook up right now, every property is going to get a stub because of the extension of those mains. Overhead electric conversion is a part of it. It was a part of the feasibility report, but just, you know, kind of identifying that's still moving forward, where we put some of that primary conduit in the ground now. As part of that effort, we do have some easement needs, but primarily focused on the west side there. The east side properties are already in the alley, and they are going as part of a conversion too, but that's a separate project. So we're trying to take advantage of the disturbance and the work we're doing and really address that electric need that's literal to 36. So kind of, you know, taking care of all that at one time. And then something else we've been talking a lot about, but initially we were strategizing this west parking lot. That's the parking lot that's west of Main Street there by the bar and Green Mill and FFM. We were thinking that fit well with this project. I think primarily just because of proximity, but after further thought and really looking at the scope of work and the impact to downtown, we're thinking that fits better after this. Just trying to get the staging and commitments to businesses and ensuring that they have a means of access at all times. I think it's just going to be too much, and I'm fearful that there's going to be conditions that they're not always going to be happy about. So I think getting the road project done, getting Main Street, you know, South Main, that's not even finished yet, all of Ferry, and then I think we come in and do just a parking lot job. I think it's going to flow a lot better. It's going to prevent, you know, allow a lot more predictability. So we're thinking that fits better in 2023. And then the other kind of final last design piece here is this, like I noted, with the benefit appraisal. We did get that report back. Our policy is based on special benefit appraisals, so that directly feeds into the roll then. We've prepared that and distributed that, so everybody has the low and the high range now for assessments. You know, historically, council has elected to adopt the low range, and we are planning for that then to happen this fall, at least the adoption of, or the consideration to adopt that assessment role. And then notably that gets recorded, and then your first installment's due in 2023. We've been enacting that 15-year plan. 15-year payment is what we've been recording those against, and then obviously that interest rate has a little fluctuation. So Put these layout sheets together kind of just as an internal in some of our staff meetings, and I thought they were pretty powerful to kind of just lay out the corridor. I'm going to go quick. There's 7 of them, but just wanted to call it a few of the higher level, kind of just catch your eye kind of things that we're planning here to. I thought it would just help, conceptually showcase here the project improvement. One of the things that we're looking at from a speed compliance is we want to bring urban all the way to 30-mile-an-hour zone. So we're going to extend curb and gutter all the way to where that 30-mile-an-hour zone starts. We're looking at a road narrowing there. We're looking at a 32-foot road corridor. So it actually will feel narrower than the rural is today. And then as you move north to 3rd Street, we're looking at straightening out 3rd Street, bringing that in more perpendicular. I think that's going to help identify that that's an intersection and really kind of be that welcoming, okay, you're in urban now. Furthermore, right there at 3rd Street, we're going to bring some striping in to really consolidate and narrow that down to even a 11-foot lane. So all of the lanes are going to be 11-foot through here for the through lane, a lot like what we applied on Elmwood as you're coming into town. We did 11-foot lanes here, but further restricting those with some visual striping as you are, rounding the curve at 3rd Street. Another big change is 3rd Street today is horizontally designed for 40-mile-an-hour speed, and that's kind of one of those things that led into the speed study results is that you're comfortable taking that radius at 40. We're going to be narrowing that radius down to a 35, really making that feel tighter. Should feel uncomfortable when you're traveling, greater than 35, hopefully. So just another consideration there to try to control speed. Right there north of 3rd, you see the introduction of the sidewalks both sides. We're looking at some monumentation signing here to welcome to Sueur, something kind of a play on South Main, play on the 93 entrance sign. So hopefully some identification that, hey, you're in the city of Sueur. It doesn't have any of that today. And then kind of the final strategy on this page is we want to bring in a dynamic speed sign. So similar to Elmwood, that would be placed right at that 30-mile-an-hour zone. And so just kind of all those things combined, it should drastically feel different as you enter, basically our city here on the south side. Not a lot to note on this page other than the continuation of sidewalks. So this is that next block north. You got Mogg Street there and South 2nd. So the sidewalks both sides. This is all new sidewalk here. There's none today. And then just noting those 11-foot lanes continue. This is all urban, obviously. As you get further north here, again, this is getting into Davis Street. So this is where that big dip is today. We're looking at kind of gentling that dip out and raising that road a little bit. It actually fits really well to raise that vertical curve. So I think that's going to fit a lot better. Drainage will be improved. We'll get a little more cover over utilities. So a pretty sizable improvement there. And then once you hit Davis, now we're on sidewalks existing both sides. So we're just really replacing that in kind. Continuing the 11-foot lanes here to help with that feel. And then you get into Reisdorf, and then we're going to introduce that RFB. So something similar to 5th Street, we're going to bump the curbs in. We are getting speed compliance here already today, but just to kind of accent that a little bit more, we have sidewalk connectivity on Reisdorf going east. So we're just kind of really centralizing and calling attention to that crossing there. This is where we propose the 11-foot lanes to stop, is at Reisdorf. And then we continue north with 12-foot lanes, but sidewalks are replaced in kind. The right-of-way was wider here, so the boulevards are going to feel a little bit better. So I think this is going to be a really nice stretch of road. And then once you get to Smith Street, that's what we kind of identify as the downtown building face to building face. We're road narrowing here. That corridor is a 50-foot today. We're going to a 44. So we're adding quite a bit of 3 feet each side basically. So we're going to be able to add some boulevard space, kind of pull those walks away from the building, get a little buffer on the street lights, bring street lighting in on both sides. So this is going to really feel, I think a lot different and feel, a little bit more space for the businesses for sure. Another thing to note is if you're familiar on the east side today, there's a lot of steps to those businesses, and we've been able to design and bring those up to zero entry. We're not able to raise the whole road globally, but we're going to incorporate some of the strategy we used on South Main, elevate a sidewalk for a portion so you can ramp up, enter those businesses, and then ramp back down. So kind of a micro application of South Main along the mall, bring that down to this block. So I've met with all the businesses, those that want it, we're going to proceed with that. The west side has no issue. That's all on grade today. So pretty excited about that. A lot of emphasis on truck turning here to make sure that We're not compromising that. And then this is your west and east block of ferry. So now we just turn the corner, picking up that west block of ferry, but acknowledging we're going to stop short. We have to run a little storm sewer into the parking lot, but we're going to leave the parking lot for now. Some, narrowing and just, again, adding some space. If those walk down ferry, west of Main Street, it's really tight. You got all the fire escapes. So we're going to narrow the road, get a little more room for sidewalk, a little more room for pedestrians. I think that's going to feel really nice. Then as you go east on ferry, we're narrowing that block as well. So a little bit more room along the buildings. And then continuing then east, obviously, to 2nd Street, and then working our way up the hill. So looking at extension utilities up to 3rd Street, replacement of all the sidewalk, all the retaining walls. Obviously, ferry's in pretty rough shape along City Hall here. So really just, a brand new road and utility network up and then connecting into 4th Street. And then basically tying right in where we left off at 22. So that's what I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions. And then as I just noted tonight, there's no action required, just kind of a quick update on where we're at.
Thank you for your presentation. It's pretty thorough, and I'm looking forward to the project.
Yeah.
Keep things moving here in Sueur. Anybody else have questions?
Your open house that you have tomorrow?
Thursday. Yep, Thursday it's here. Yep, no problem. Yep, it is. It is at City Hall.
What time is that at?
It's 4 to 6.
Anybody else?
Yes, I have one question. When I read through the materials, you're going to extend the 40-mile-per-hour time or speed limit rather coming into town or not?
We are not. So when you read the speed study, that was prepared by our traffic group. And it kind of is a good example of all that discussion we had in Elmwood and Coventry, and it's kind of really bringing full circle the effects of a speed study. So the traffic person, when they look at this corridor of 36 and look at the speed study results, one of the conclusions that could be drawn is to say we need to increase the speed to 40 because that's what everyone is traveling. That's what the road can carry. The city engineer side of me and understanding the goals of this project, the goals of the community is that we are noting that there's not compliance to the speed and we want it to be 30, right? That's what we want to support. So we're looking at it in a different lens and saying, we're not increasing the speed. That's not an option for us. How do we make this road feel less comfortable for those traveling 40 and try to drive it from an infrastructure standpoint, the speed compliance. So you would not have that opportunity otherwise in a project like this where you can start to change radiuses and move intersections. So we're taking advantage of the breadth of this project and really, hopefully, right? Hopefully all these strategies together have a visual effect and noticeable effect on those folks that are entering our community. So that's it. You're correct, Councilmember Krogman. There's two ways you could look at that. Say we're going to increase the speed because that's what folks are traveling, or we say, hey, there's a whole lot of strategies where we want to force that 30.
Well, quite frankly, I'm all in favor of a 30 mile per hour, but I just want to be clear.
Yep, it's a good question.
Who's all going to be at the informational meeting on Thursday? You are?
I'll be myself and it'll be another staff person from Bolton and Mink. You know what? We haven't had a ton of discussion at staff level. If council member, if city staff's going to be here or county engineer Teagues, we really haven't, council member Schluter, really solidified that attendance. But certainly well staffed from Bolton and Mink and be prepared to answer hopefully anyone's questions that might be there. But it's a good question. I guess I don't have a direct answer for you tonight. Who is all planning to be in attendance?
I can address that. I mean, staff will be there too, in full. I'll be there. And then there'll be some other street representatives there too.
Thank you.
I have a more critical question based on prior experience with these. What kind of cookies are you going to have?
It's a good question. I don't have a good answer for that yet either.
Anywhere we can, seriously.
Right. Understood. We'll have some goodies.
You'll have something.
We'll have something.
I would say this, anybody that's watching that might be impacted, they really should come because the staff, you and others welcome that dialogue and give people a good understanding of what's happening. So I appreciate deeply what you do with that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beanfang. Appreciate it.
Can I keep it?
Yeah, yes, it's all here. Moving on to item number 6B, the comprehensive utility plan, and that's you again, Mr.
It is, yeah,
Yes.
it is. So appreciate it. So yeah, the comprehensive utility plan. It's been a bit of an extensive effort. Really, kind of this plan update in regards to the transportation utility has been just about 2 years, honestly, which seems crazy. We've been working on it that long, but a year ago today, almost, we adopted the transportation plan update. That's really the framework for what we base the utility plan off of. And so now here I am in front of you tonight, bringing that utility plan amendment in final form and asking for your consideration of approval. So this is one of our kind of council goals as far as updating that 2040 comp plan and really noting that there wasn't as much thoroughness and really direction in the transportation, really all of the amendments, right? The land use, the parks and open space, transportation. Now this is that kind of final piece with the utility, and really just applying, a little bit more thoroughness in each of those sections. And then really a main goal was to try to, provide some framework for how we're gonna address our growth and our projected land use, which is sizable if that all comes to fruition. So a few of the things I want to touch on just briefly: what's utility planning, what were we looking to accomplish, why this plan amendment, I kind of touched on it. We ended up going with 2 sections, a sanitary and a water, and then just give you a couple recent examples of how we've already been applying this. So I think that's kind of cool just to showcase, how you can apply it. So utility planning, we have really those 2 pieces of utility that at least we're looking for here in this plan update. Sanitary sewer planning, and it's pretty logical in the sense of it. It's to provide, an infrastructure, a system to take that waste that's being generated, collect it, bring it to a treatment, and ultimately discharge it. So we're looking at, all of the necessary pieces in regards to that, treatment, gravity mains, force mains. And then water system planning is kind of the opposite. We're pulling water out of the ground, we're treating it, distributing it to the users, and allowing them to utilize that water for whatever their need be. Looking at wells to pull that, treat it, booster stations, and then piping. So kind of the in and out, I guess, of the utilities. Amendment to the 2040 comprehensive plan, that was really our goal. And it wasn't so much to recreate the goals and policies as much as to apply those, but just in a little bit different lens, really diving into the utilities themselves. And then, like I mentioned, really honing in on that future land use growth, which you can see there on the screen. That's straight out of that land use plan that we adopted, and identifying what that growth boundary is and that land use allocation. So wastewater collection, kind of focusing in on this. When we look at utility planning, we are trying to follow closely that road network. So those collectors and arterials that we identified in the transportation plan, we are following that. Logically in a city, your utilities follow your roadways. So we will apply that to an extent. There are some limitations based on natural and man-made impediments, highway 169, just some of those things that we have to be mindful of. Topography is a huge part of wastewater. You're talking about gravity versus force main and lift stations. We're looking at minimum, maximum depths, trying to manage some of those manhole depths and things like that. And then a big part of it is trying to estimate what's the amount of flow that we're trying to address, whether it's residential, commercial, industrial. In this plan, we're looking at land use based on acres, and we're allocating a waste generation based on that. So gallons per acre per day based on land use. So it's a higher level planning document, but when you're looking at the vastness of this growth area, I think it's at least a place to start. So we have on table 2 there, that's straight out of the report, but just some, industry kind of waste generations, those ranges. And then over on the other side there, table 3 and 4, you see the existing, so kind of breaking out what our existing system is, around that 1 million gallons per day, maybe just a touch more. And then you look at the bottom there, and that's our future land use. So you can see, we're almost a 10-fold growth if this was to be realized at, at this high level, kind of estimating based on the land use. So then we take that land use and we take that rate per land per acre, and we're applying that then to a flow rate, and we're allocating that then into our model and really starting to make some assumptions on pipe sizing, where gravity is able to be utilized, where we're doing lift stations and force mains, and really trying to build out what does this, future system look like to essentially serve that growth area, and developing a model for that, making some assumptions. So that's the takeaway. Then from that, we can make some high level assumptions on cost. What does this infrastructure look like? And this is focused on trunk main, so there's a whole bunch of branches we understand, as we serve some of these residential areas and stuff, but you can kind of get a sense of the sewer sheds there, and just it's a place to start. And then the water system is that other piece. One of the places we start with the water system is, so we have an estimation on wastewater generation. What are we expecting that these properties would provide or contribute to wastewater. So we use that same kind of flow rate assumption for water. So if they're going to be generating that much waste, then we just, as a place to begin, we say, well, that they're going to need that much water in return. And so then we're looking at things like supply and treatment, storage, water towers. City of Sueur has 3 pressure zones, so we're looking at that. Pipe sizing, again, trying to provide that water back to those users. And like I note there with the wastewater, we're estimating water demand then, based on that land use projection of wastewater, understanding that there are some variability to that depending on the user, and the industry. So again, we're making some assumptions, but so then we're mapping out that same land use all the way out there, to Highway 19 essentially is our north boundary. We're following sanitary routes the best we're able. Water main's a little bit more conducive because of the pressure system. You don't have some of those topography challenges, and you can generally, work through those. We did confirm ground elevation match as well with the 3 pressure zones, so we're not anticipating having to expand upon that. We already have the low, the mid, and then the upper zone is 169. That's the high zone. We think that this growth will continue to support based on those elevations. But notably, we're going to need some more towers, probably, an additional water treatment plant, if not a bigger one. And so, understandably, when we're talking about increasing, growth in users, almost to 10 million gallons, we're talking about having to make some pretty sizable improvements of that system long term. And then this model then allows us to evaluate, make some assumptions on those costs, and those are included in the report as well. So then really what this allows is application as those future development projects, come forth, as those, those preliminary plats, and as that growth starts to take shape, we have a document that we can lean on and provide some guidance. One of the best examples is if once you start growing kind of where you're already established out to those reaches that aren't yet established, realizing that a lot of these utilities have to pass through there. So it might be an 8-inch that serves that development that's being proposed, but it might be needing to be a 28 inch so that it can carry all that sewer much farther beyond. So it's having a document that we can lean on and reference when we're making some of those asks and acknowledging that. And then it's just an understanding that these are very flexible. This is a place to start, and they really are going to take shape as these developments happen, and as you're honing in on specific areas or specific sewer sheds, you're able to make much more kind of educated decisions when you narrow in. And a couple good examples of these are some recent efforts that we've had. So like CASA 26 Ferry Street, part of our 22 project that stretch along the high school, we identified a sanitary sewer extension there, getting it up to Kingsway. And so we were able to use this model, kind of hone in on what that drainage area is going to be, narrow in onto a pipe size. So having that model available to us let us make as the best educated decision as we can to get that sewer main in for future for future capacity and future growth. And then South Main Street, CASA 36, what I just talked about, we're extending sewer to the south city limit there, and that sewer doesn't exist today. So making an exemption, an estimation on main size to serve some of the growth, south city limit that isn't developed yet. Having that model in place to make some of those decisions, and hopefully get that main sized right. So just a couple examples there where having that model and having some of this thought process in place was really beneficial. And then, as noted in the packet, we did present this to the Planning Commission last month, similar to what we did for the transportation plan, really all the plan amendments. And they were, approving of bringing this forth tonight in front of city council, really asking for that consideration to approve these and have that amended in that comprehensive plan. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do you have a comment?
I do, if I may.
Thank you.
I just want to talk briefly about that amendment process. So we have a bunch of these plans that we've adopted over, I think, over the last couple of years that are intended to be part of the comprehensive plan, but we haven't amended the comprehensive plan. So this, with a few other plans, will be going to the Planning Commission. They're going to evaluate the changes to the comp plan, hold a public hearing, and then make a recommendation to City Council at a future meeting date where we would then officially amend our comprehensive plan. So there's a process. It'll likely take probably 3 months to complete. So hopefully by this summer, we'll have a updated comprehensive plan that has all of our plans that we've done, all the planning documents we've developed over the last probably now actually 3 years if you go back to the downtown master plan, and have those in our actual comp plan, so they're all in one location. So that's kind of been the vision, and that's what we're going to accomplish here. This is the last piece of that puzzle, so then we can bring that amendment forward.
Thank you. With that, I'm going to ask if anybody has any questions or comments for Engineer Beanfang, our city administrator. Anything? Nothing at this time. With that, we will ask the city council to approve the amendments, sanitary, sewer and water system utility plans. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Sullivan, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Krogman. Any questions, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Mr.
Troy.
Beanfang. We appreciate your help and your information tonight.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. Moving on to item 6C, Agri-Pure pretreatment rates for 2022. At this time, we'll invite Mr. Kuchera up and give us a little brief summary of that. Do you have anything you want to add before we start?
If I may, I'll give a little history because this is new to City Council. Back in 2019, the Public Utility Commission, known as MRFPUC, the Minnesota River Valley Public Utilities Commission, was effectively dissolved. I think it was November of 2019. And there was rates established at that time. Essentially, the city of Sueur carried on those rates for 2020 and 2021. This is something that you'll likely see annually when we do the utility rates in December with the normal budget process. But we had a couple things that we had to make sure we're aligning with the agreement that we have in place and things of that nature. So they're coming to you now in early January, but we anticipate that this would be part of kind of the budget package that you see in December every year. So with that, I'll hand it off to Rich Kuchera, the Public Services Director.
Mr. Kuchera, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. I have also brought along Foster Transford, the water wastewater manager. So he's the one that is responsible for integrating all these interesting rates that we have. I think that's a good introduction. Yes, so we're here tonight to try to ask for formal establishment of the 2022 rates for the Agri-Pure pretreatment industrial discharge. This is the only industrial discharge the city receives at this time. This does follow the facility cost sharing agreement that was dated July 30th, 2014. And as I'm sure Councilmember Sullivan and Councilmember Huntington remember, this follows the previously used methodology by MRFPUC. What allowed us to get here today is the 602, or the wastewater fund, now has 4 different expense areas. So all expenses we track either fall into a collections, which is anything outside the fence to convey the wastewater to the plant, sewer treatment plant, which would be everything inside the plant except for biosolids treatment. Right. Biosolids treatment, which, as you know, is the production of the biosolids, the Class A EQ product, and administration. And administration we keep that there. That is for debt service payments and depreciation. That's the only things that go into administration coding. So with this, we were able to create the 602, we call it the 49,480 fund. This is the sewer treatment plant. So anything inside the fence, not including biosolids. So this is all the codes that Foster does use, and you'll see the overall budget just for sewer treatment plant. Remember, this does not include any debt service. This is just operational costs, is 1.245 million. So we take that. Remember, we still have a debt service to the PCA of about 1.2 million. So already there, we're up to 2.4 million. And that's not all the costs, obviously. So with that information, we put it back into the spreadsheet that was used during the MRF days, and you can see the total O&M budget is the 1.245 million. Below that, the COLS wastewater treatment facility, you'll see 2021 trending. So that is the amount of gallons, pounds of BOD, pounds of TSS, and pounds of phosphorus trending. So I used the 11 months of data for 2021 and use that to figure in December. And those are the loadings for 2021 that we are anticipating the total to be. And then we use the dollars above with the flow loadings below to calculate out the dollars or the price per pound or the price per 1,000 gallons to treat. And I'll ask if there's questions there, because I'm going to guess there may be questions.
Anybody?
You
We're
guys could
hanging
have
with
gave
you.
this presentation. Good?
Yep.
Okay. So with that, staff is recommending approval of resolution 2022-001, establishing the rates for the Agri-Pure pretreatment industrial discharge.
Yes, sir, Mr. Sullivan.
Rich, what does this do to their rates? So comparing to previous?
It'd be rough, just over $200,000 increase per year.
Do you have like a percent that increase is?
So 2021 is forecasted to end at about $285,000. Using these rates at 2021 loadings is about $500,000 for the year.
But essentially, this is a more accurate cost of service.
Yes, two council members may remember about the second to last MRF meeting. These are really close. I mean, we're within 10% of the Baker Tilly rate study, what those numbers came out to be. That's what these numbers are that were not adopted at that time by MRF. So.
Yeah,
So-
sorry.
No, go ahead. You might answer.
The rates that we had have been operating under were from essentially 2015 MRF adopted rates. Just to kind of put that in context, 6-year-old rates with no increases. And that's just, that was what was adopted from MRF when we took over, and that's what basically we used from 2020 and 2021.
So, and remind me again, when did MRF dissolve?
2019, yep,
Yep.
end of
So essentially,
2019.
This is what Baker Tilly was telling us to do back in 2019.
Correct.
I have a question. How does this fit with what we've done for budgeting? For anything in our budget, does this, have we already sort of factored this in unknowingly? No, I don't mean it the wrong way, but you sort of did it, or will this actually help our budget, so to speak, within the city?
Yes. So through the entire process, we have been working with legal counsel, and legal counsel advised us to use this data with a number of the 500,000 in our revenue budget.
Okay, thank you. That makes
Yeah.
sense, but I just thought we needed to know
Yep.
that, so thank you.
Anybody else? If not, I will entertain any motions. Staff recommends that the city council approves R 2022-001, establishing the rates for Agri-Pure pretreatment industrial discharge to the city of Sueur with the POTW.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to, but I think we should defer to our MRF former members, see what they say first.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Motion was made by Councilmember Sullivan and seconded by Councilmember Huntington. Any discussion, comments?
I'd just like to thank you guys for your work on this along with Jasper. I think this is long coming.
Thank you.
I know we spent a lot of time with it on Merpuck, and Baker Tilly was pretty adamant in 2019 that we needed to move forward. So
And we appreciate your guys' work on this a couple of years back. So thank you. So with that said, all in favor? Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next.
And then item 6D, the biosolids rates for 2022. You gentlemen are up again.
Thank you. So biosolids rate, this is a little different animal. Like I said, we've been working with legal counsel, and this is not really controlled by any agreements that we have at this time. So staff took a long look at this. I mean, we've been examining this for good 2 years, and this rate will apply to any wastewater that is received at our biosolids facility. So this is not a rate that is specific to X, Y, Z, anybody in particular. If St. Peter were to have a issue at their facility, would call us up, say, we need to get rid of our biosolid sludge, can you take it? We would use this calculation method to do that.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Could I just have you guys describe and define what biosolids are? I think that would be helpful.
I'll let the manager answer that one.
So biosolids are waste activated sludge, or it's waste sludge coming from the treatment plant. So whatever can't be treated and go out of the effluent into the river, it's the solids that are taken, and then it goes through this process where it's dried, and then farmers take the material from there.
Thank you.
Is this the material that used to be in the, or might still be in the covered shed or whatever you call it?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Any other questions on that?
I do actually have one
Okay,
other
sure.
question. Can you just clarify, why don't we sell that product? I know there's been questions in the past as to that potentially being a budget item where you can make revenue. Is there
Sure.
a reason we don't do that?
At this time, or there's a lot of facilities that actually pay to get rid of those materials, just because there just isn't a good solid market for it. It's not. It does have long range use. I mean, it does have value, but it just doesn't have value for selling. We're just happy to be able to get rid of it. Yep.
And just to follow up on the biosolids, another item is it's not a consistent product of known values for its nutrient, where the farmer will call up the fertilizer company and say, I want this with, this much potassium, this much nitrogen, and they can produce that. Our product is, well, this is what we got for you. So now they got to adjust their farming to our product, where it's easier on the other end. And that really hurts our marketability. So thank you. So the updated calculation, we still use the actual electricity that is used per month, the actual gas that is used, which is for the dryer, domestic water that's used in the process, and chemicals. Chemicals include the polymer and the salt. We allocate 1 FTE into the equation, budgeted materials and equipment for the whole year, and we're also adding in depreciation, which we don't know has ever been calculated in before. So these are some big things, and the depreciation, obviously, that's a lot. We need to put that in there. So hopefully not within 10 years, we are not replacing that equipment. A really good manager says he's going to extend that thing.
Yep. We'll do our due diligence.
So, but the calculator also allows us the flexibility to come back at the end of the year in January and do an assessment to say, okay, did we allocate enough staff? Nope, we went over that. Okay, we got to adjust this. Did we use our fully budgeted materials and equipment? Nope, we saved money. We didn't need to replace so much. Okay, so then we can go back to each month and we can reallocate this. And then obviously if there's a credit, we can issue a credit back to the vendor. If we undercharge, then we send out an invoice, say, you know, we undercharge you, you need to adjust your, you know, you need to send us a payment for this. So just like you saw for the sewer treatment plant, we have a budget just for biosolids, 49,485. So this is the entire budget for the biosolids facility, $442,214. And with that in the packet, there was a little screenshot of the final bill calculation. That spreadsheet has 14 tabs to it right now that staff fills out every single day when they're working. We're actually talking today about creating another one just for fun. So if there's any questions, we are here to answer them the best we can.
Thank you, Mr. Kransberg, Mr. Kuchera. Appreciate your presentation. Anybody have any questions for these gentlemen? Anything at all? Do you have anything?
No, I would just mention, this is something that we talked about extensively at MRPUC meetings too, the cost to process a pound of biosolids and, you know, going back and forth on this. So, you know, again, some things might be kind of coming back to some council members.
For this, we'll look for anybody who wants to make a motion for the city council to approve resolution R 2022-002 establishing the biosolids rate for the city of Sueur.
So moved.
Second.
Made by Mr. Huntington, seconded by Mr. Sullivan. Any discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate your insight on this. Moving on to, we've got one item that was added before we get into the questions and comments, or the comments. That was item 6E, EDA. We're looking to approve an applicant. Do you want to give us a little background on that, or who it is?
Yes, I sure can. So there's an application that I included in your materials here for you tonight. They're also available to the public. But I received an application today from Mr. Nick Williams for the Economic Development Authority. This position would have a term that would end December 31st, 2025. There are currently 3 vacancies on the EDA right now. So without this appointment, we would still meet quorum requirements, but if anybody would be gone, we wouldn't be able to meet those. So we are planning to have an EDA meeting this month on the 4th Monday. So I don't know if this is some information I wanted to provide. Mr. Williams was previously on the Planning Commission, I believe. I'm not sure, I think at least 3 years. So he does have experience. Was it 6 years?
No, 11. What does it say?
Or does it say that in his application? Sorry.
Maybe not. No, doesn't say.
All right. But he was on the Planning Commission, and I believe he filled the term out there. So he does have experience in local government board and commissions. So other than that, the application is there for review. And the recommendation is to appoint Mr. Williams to the EDA with a term ending on December 31st, 2025.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions or comments before we make a motion?
I served with Mr. Williams for multiple years on the Planning Commission, and I feel that he'd be a good asset for EDA.
I have no doubt at all. And it sounds like we still have a couple openings there. So with that, I'll entertain any motions.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
Second.
Been seconded by Mr. Schlueter. Any comments, concerns?
I must echo what Mr. Schlueter just said. I was the council rep with Planning Commission, and Nick did a great job. He'll be a good asset for us.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Nick Williams has now been added to the EDA. Thank you, gentlemen. And that moves us into the last part of our meeting. It'd be comments, reports, items of appreciation, anything you want to share regarding your commissions, the community. This is your opportunity. This is your platform. We will start with Councilmember Huntington.
3 times in a row. All right, last Tuesday, I had a meeting with Art Pack. Nothing came out of there, just almost everyday business. We have MRBT tomorrow in St. Peter. And then that's only the committee meetings I've had since that time. And I like to say on behalf of the Boy Scouts, appreciate the city for the in-kind donation for their lock into that.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Moving on to Councilmember Krogman.
Yes, if I may, I'm going to ask our city administrator to chime in any information he wants to add. He and I both serve on the help me out, Jasper. MMPA, yeah. I wanted to sing. Like, did he ever return? No, he never returned. We're working on getting electrical vehicle charging stations here in town. MMPA has offered, agreed, actually committed to providing those for the communities that want them. And they're working on a timeline. They started some installations last calendar year and are going to be doing some this year. Our problem is that our location for that would likely be the parking lot, which you heard today will be deferred until 23. So we're working on that. And also we need to look at the level of what type of charging station it is. There's levels 1, 2, and 3. And if we get one that's too low, you wind up with somebody having to sit here for an hour to an hour and a half. If you get a better one, they can get out of here in 30 minutes, which draws them to town. So you have to kind of balance that. And I'll ask Jasper to talk a little bit about it. We're really working with MMPA right now, but Jasper has more information. In fact, he did some homework on it. I don't know how much you want to add to that, Jasper, but I'd certainly appreciate it at this point. It makes sense.
Yeah, you'll likely see a future council agenda item kind of talking about EV charging stations and kind of what our strategy is with them generally as a city council. We have some plan for that parking lot. The question is the MMPA ones, I believe, are level 2 chargers, which are a little bit slower. The level 3 are called superchargers, and they take about 30 minutes. I've done some research talking to the Todd Prafke over in the city of St. Peter. They have a lot of these EV chargers. They have some superchargers, some level 2s. So it was a very good conversation, a lot of insight. But you know, we're going to have a conversation at City Council about what our strategy is. If it's just to have one and just to say we have one, or is it to use it as an economic development tool or an economic driving tool, we'll call it, to drive people to Le Sueur and try to get them to charge their car here. You know, if the latter is the case, the strategy might be, well, we're kind of in competition with St. Peter. If they have superchargers and we don't, why would somebody stop in Le Sueur and just not just go to St. Peter? If that's really what one of the drivers is to get them to come to town. So we'll have that conversation. We'll also have to have that conversation with MMPA because I don't believe there's any member communities with superchargers. So all the other member communities have, if they do have an MMPA charger in their community, it's a level 2 charger. So we'll have to bridge that gap. We do have a little bit of time, being that there's you know, the parking lot projects in 2023. So we'll have that conversation, and Corey is involved with the design and engineering of what we need to do in that parking lot. But overall, we'll have a strategic meeting about, you know, what we really want to accomplish as a city with EV chargers and what we want to do. So
The reason I bring this up, Mr. Mayor and council members, public, is I want you to know we're considering this, we're working on it, but input would be greatly appreciated. We're working with MMPA to do the best we can for what we need. By the way, there's a couple of those in St. Peter are, Jasper, am I correct? They're actually owned by Tesla. Tesla has a network of these things. You know, in their cars, they tell you where their superchargers are. But you know, we can still install one of that type. It's just, we're not going to get Tesla to do it quite surely. So. Okay.
Anything else?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you
Appreciate
for your
time.
work on that. I like the progressive thinking we have going on there. So I'm looking forward to hearing more information on that. Thank you. Moving on to Council Member Schleter.
3 items. On Wednesday, I've got a full Region 9 Development Board meeting, got a HRA meeting coming up on the 19th, and the CASA 36 Open House, that's on Thursday, January 13th. I encourage everyone to attend that.
Thank you. And lastly, Mr. Sullivan, Councilmember Sullivan.
I don't have anything to report, but I do want to echo appreciation to Mr. Edberg for his presentation tonight. And I guess I would ask Jasper, how do we proceed forward with what he brought to us tonight?
Yeah, I already, I took some notes and I have it on the list to go to personnel and budget and just talk about, you know, globally about in-kind, kind of in-kind donations for these community events, you know, Giant Days celebration, Giant Days committee stuff, you know, Christmas in the Valley, talk about that and, you know, how we want to proceed with some of these things. So personnel and budget, it's on the next agenda item or agenda list for personnel and budget.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Moving on to myself, I have nothing to report tonight. We will end with you, Mr.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Kirby. One quick note, we have a couple staff members, I think 3 that are doing the Giant Reality Challenge tomorrow morning, and that's a Rotary event that they partner with the high school to kind of get students kind of ready for the real world. So we'll be there tomorrow. It's Finance Director Roby, Police Chief Kelly, myself there that'll be participating in that. Again, I will reiterate, I know that Councilmember Schleter talked about the open house on Thursday, but that's here right in the council chambers before the Planning Commission meeting. We have a Planning Commission meeting that evening as well at 6 o'clock. Really not much on the agenda there except the appointment of officers and continuing to plan that future of the city forum. So that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, and I want to thank everybody for their presentations tonight. I want to thank our council members for being here tonight, and at this time, I'd like to take an informal motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
Thank you very much. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.